what's the ending? This video showed no point to this rant. Where's the rest? Okay, so this video was regarding Bill Nelson, who's, one of Biden's appointees at NASA. Okay, a lot of people have questioned NASA's legitimacy altogether. And yeah, I am now too. Because again, I look from the biblical perspective. So I think it's interesting how he spoke in there about how it's really hard to land on the moon. And there's people that are questioning that, okay? Yeah, I know. There's going to be a ton of people that see this and they go, oh, yeah, this is craziness. Oh, money. Hollywood can do a lot of things to make you believe whatever they want you to believe. Here's the reason now I question it. Because before I sort of was like, I could go either way. I mean, I don't put anything past the government when it comes to lying. Nothing. They'll do anything for money. And to make you believe, because what does the moon landing actually do? What did it serve? Because we've never went back. And people have questioned it, and there's been video of how, Buzz Aldrich himself has come out and said it was a lie. And yet the media doesn't say anything about that, but there's tons of video of that, him saying that. So here's the reason that I question it, because again, I look at everything from the biblical perspective. So reading Genesis 1, when it talks about the creation of everything, and the firmament. So the firmament to me is a big deal. In some Bibles, they call it the expanse, meaning land and sea. But the firmament itself, was a separation between heaven and us. And so there's been video that's come out about this Antarctica, all their expeditions there, right? And it's very secretive what they're doing there, and you have to wonder why. Well, I think it has something to do with the sky ice, yes. And Bill Nelson mentioned in that about the water or sky, the sky water. He said something along those lines. So that's a lot of the reason too those are the two reasons I posted it. It was not so much about anything else he had to say, because it's the same nonsense we've heard forever. Oh, if we don't do this before China or Russia, then they will own it. It's like so stupid. It's like playground school children stuff, right? Like I got here first. I own it. I heard this stuff all my life for why we have to go to the moon initially, because Russia sent a monkey there. Yeah. So sure they did. Here's where I don't know how it could be possible. That is, if you're a Bible believing person, and I'm not a Bible expert, but if you go and you read Genesis up through till Genesis 15, when it talks about this expanse, it sounds as if the sun and the moon, yes, God created them. The sun and the moon are above the firmament. Or in between. Because there's water above us, and then there's water, it talks about water being below us. Or below heaven, which would be our sky. So, and here's the reason I think this is significant when it comes to climate change. Yep. Is because maybe there is a climate change. If the sun is above the firmament, and the sun is very hot, right? And I could be totally wrong. I'm just throwing this out there. Because I look at things from the biblical perspective, and science has gone, and they've all gone out of their way so that people did not believe there's a God. So when you say, forget what they say, let's look at everything from the Bible perspective, then you tend to see how it makes more sense. Just my opinion. So if the sun and the moon are above the firmament, then there's no way they could have ever gone to the moon, because they can't get past that firmament. They've been trying. That's what Antarctica's about. So for a while I thought, well, then the moon and the sun have to be below the firmament. So maybe we did go to the moon. But I don't think so. Not when you read Genesis. It's above the firmament. They can't get through that firmament. That's why They can't. They can't. People have written about this, and that's what it is. It's a firmament. Believe me, that's the biggest proof of the Bible and God, is that firmament. So, which is why they'd want to keep it from us. But if the sun is above it, then the sun can eventually melt it, which would cause the climate to change a whole lot, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Talk about the best is yet to come. And so that would scare the wicked, wouldn't it? It would. And so they would see everything as a climate crisis. Yeah, that would be a climate crisis for them, wouldn't it? It would absolutely be a climate crisis for them, because it would mean their asses are like going to be judged. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, that is if you believe in the Bible. A ton of people don't, but that's, to their own fault. But there's enough evidence out there to suggest that the moon landing didn't happen, okay? You can call that conspiracy theory all you like, but when Buzz Aldridge himself is saying it, then, you have to call into question, why is this not being covered along with all the other evidence of how they actually made it believable that we actually landed there? And then I thought Bill Nelson saying how it's hard to land on the moon. I thought, oh, it is? It is? But they, the astronaut, when we remember the picture or the videos, they were hopping around. And yet they called Nixon, right? Or they called down from the moon to, like, how did they do all that? Like, we don't stop to think about this stuff like way back then. We just believed it because we believed what we were being told. But then when you look at it from the biblical perspective, there's no way, because they can't get past the firmament. They've been trying to get past it. That's why Antarctica is secret. So I really think, yeah, maybe there is a climate change happening, but it's not one you need to worry about. But it is one the wicked would be worried about, which would explain why, your John Kerry's, your United Nations, World Economic, all your most wicked people really would be scared to death of the climate crisis. Yes, because if the sun is above the firmament that is above us, and it melts, well, then that would create a whole lot of rain, a whole lot of melting ice caps, polar ice caps, yeah, a whole lot. And that wicked does know that there is that true God. They just don't want you to know it, as I always say. So they would see that as a danger to them. Yeah. So make our lives miserable. All because they know that, their asses are going to be judged soon. Just a thought. That was the only reason I posted that video.